Welcome back. This is the second video of the series Battleground. Please watch the previous parts to enjoy this manhwa. Previously, we saw Chin and Haben had escaped from their enemy and survived the brawl from the military base. They were riding away from it. Chin was anxious and asked why did she save him. If she needed a teammate, couldn't she find another guy? Haben was not stressed about it. She replied, "You know the saying, even crossing paths with someone is fate." She added, seeing the person she talked with die in front of her eyes, she doesn't really want to see that. Chin had no words to deny that. He looked at a nearby house and said, "Let's stop for a bit. He needs to take rest." In the house, they got first aid medicine kits. Haben felt relieved that they got med kits and they were not injured severely. As she said that, she asked, what are they gonna do next? But right now, Chin was pointing his gun at her. Haben was little surprised, but Chin said he has to make sure that she must protect herself. Haben was not happy to hear that. Chin added he joined this game to find someone, but to find someone on such a big island, he'd need someone to drive him around, so he's ready to team up, just like she wanted. However, he can't protect her in emergency situations, so she will need to protect herself with the gun. Chin handed over the gun to Haben. Haben was little nervous and said, would he be alright without a gun? Chin simply replied, he actually prefers to kill people barehandedly, just because it's more quiet. Haben took a look at the revolver, but she gave the gun back to Chin and said he should use it. She doesn't know how to use it anyway. She smiled and said, but still, she's glad that he trusted her. He didn't know if she'd have shot him with this gun. Chin didn't say anything. He just said, all right. But, in reality, it was a test for her. He had given her an empty gun. After a while, they got on their move. Riding the bike, Haben suddenly remembered and asked, who is he searching for in this murder game? Chin didn't want to disclose his identity, so he just neglected her and said, it is confidential. She doesn't need to know, so she can just focus on driving. Haben was clearly disappointed and a little annoyed by his reasoning. She couldn't just leave it at that, so she asked if at least he knows where this person is so that she can drive in that direction. Chin was little surprised and starts thinking about the question. He thought, it's impossible for the assemblyman to just wander around. If only he knew where he landed. Just when he was thinking, Haben suddenly stopped the bike. They saw a small village. Many houses were built at same location. Haben asked Chin if the person he is looking for would be hiding at such place. Chin immediately replied he doesn't know. He guessed the person he is looking for won't land in such closed place. But for now, he had no choice but to search whole island. He said they should give it a try. As they got near the village, the houses were empty. Looking at the place, Haben said, it is like a ghost town. She questioned, where did all the living people of this island go? Chin knew the answer. He said, the whole island is set for the battleground, so no one leaves here. Haben looked around and said she didn't hear any sounds or voices. She thinks no one came here. As she finished her sentence, Chin pulled her over. They saw other living people and dead bodies surrounding them. The living people had guns. They were also the players of the battleground. Haben was saved from being seen. Looking at the corpses, Chin realized why it was so quiet. There were a lot of people teaming up. If he had fought with them, he would immediately die. He thought they must have teamed up on plane. Chin said, taking on 3 people at once is a suicide. Let's go back to our motorbike quietly. Haben understood what he meant. Just when they were walking towards the bike, they heard a voice. A cigar man was near their motorbike. The man said to his teammates, it's as he said. He had heard the sound of the motorbike. The engine of this bike is still warm. The 2 people were suddenly shocked. One said, did someone really ride that bike? While the other person suddenly questioned, then where is the rider hiding? Chin suddenly realized there was one more person here. Suddenly, the cigar man walked forward with a spiked bat. He said, the rider may still be near them. Let's look for him. Haben was shocked and gave out a little unwanted sound. The man looked over, but a sudden blow fell on his mouth, taking away his cigar along with some tooth. It was Chin. The man was instantly knocked out. The blow had made a small sound. The man in black suit had heard it. He glanced near the bike and said, what was that sound? He asked, is there someone? For a moment, there was no answer. The man asked, why is there no answer? He asked again, did you get attacked? Chin and Haben were in a tense situation. Chin told her to be quiet. The man called out again, what are you doing? Don't joke around, you bastard. The other men were already on their guard. Chin knew it was hard to face 3 people at once, but right now, he had no choice. He quickly aimed to shoot, but suddenly, he lost his gun before even firing. Those 3 men were on guard. They immediately shot when they saw the gun. A heavy burst of bullets fell over, but Chin was saved by the cover. Haben was worried. The 3 men started walking towards them. The black suit man reloaded his gun and said, this little son of a bitch. Did you think I wouldn't know? You are all now. He immediately aimed at the side of the wall. But, to his surprise, there was no enemy, only their fallen subordinate. The man cursed. Just as Chin and Haben were running away from them, they heard the man order his men. They must have not gone too far. One person stay back to guard the bike. The others will search the buildings in the village. Inside a building, Haben and Chin were hiding. Haben was exhausted by the sprint. She asked, what should they do? Should they give up on the motorbike and run away? Chin was looking outside to stay on guard. He replied, if they run away on foot, there's nothing but an empty road outside. It's a great place to be shot. He added, they should run from building to building while doing guerrilla warfare. Right now, Chin only had a frying pan as his weapon. He could have used a better weapon to get away from this situation. Haben looked around and suddenly saw something. She took the item and asked Chin if he knows how to use this item. Chin was stunned to see this item. After a while, the black suit man kicked the door open. He shouted, he has found them. He had heard voices from this building. He said, judging by the way they ran, they must not have a weapon on hand. Shall I have some fun? As he walked inside with a smile, suddenly an arrow struck him on his forehead. The man was dead in one shot. With this weapon, one shot was enough. The weapon was a crossbow. Chin had got one of the most silent and deadliest weapon in the battleground. He had shot the man right in the head without making any sound. One down, now two remained. Chin reloaded the weapon and was ready for another hunt. Near the motorbike, the man on guard was bored waiting for his teammates. He thought those bastards were too late. He couldn't help but wonder what they were doing. Suddenly, he heard something. The man looked around and immediately aimed his DP-27. Chin was hiding behind the side wall with his crossbow. He looked over and saw only one armed man with a Soviet light machine gun, also known as DP-27. He knew it has an overwhelming firepower, and if he didn't kill him in the first move, he will be a dead meat. More importantly, he only saw one person, the others were nowhere to be seen. Attacking first could be dangerous, but he had already made a plan. He told Haben that, in order to wipe out their enemy, he needed her help. Haben was not ready for this. Chin added, he doesn't have much experience of dealing with the crossbow. He can't guarantee that he can use it well. Even though she will need some courage, he will need her help. He asked, can she do it? After a moment of pause, Haben smiled and said, let's do it. She added, you see, courage is an essential part of Ryder's life. That's right. This time, Chin's role was to be distraction. He shot first on his enemy. The arrow from the crossbow flew over towards the enemy, but ultimately it missed the target. The enemy was suddenly shocked. Chin was disappointed, but he had expected it. But right now, the enemy with a light machine gun was aiming at him. Suddenly, Chin was showered with bullets from DP-27. He was running to avoid the gunshots. Just when he was about to take cover behind the wooden fence, the fence was obliterated with each gunshot. Chin ran and passed while sliding under the fence. He could only hope to avoid instant death. But, as he was sliding, he saw other enemy approaching him with a scythe. He thought he was caught in an ambush. The man smiled and slashed his scythe towards Chin. He was fast, but Chin was faster to react. He sat up and blocked the attack with the crossbow. It was unseen and unheard. Just when the enemy was in shock, Chin took out an arrow from his quiver and stabbed the enemy with the arrow. He was so fast that the enemy couldn't even react. The arrow was deep inside his thigh. He let out a loud shriek. Chin was not going to wait. He immediately reloaded the crossbow. Now, he only needed to. Just when he thought about it, the man with light machine gun was right behind him. It was over after all. The man smiled and said, there is nowhere to go now. Die, you idiot. Just when he thought it was going to be the end, he realized they have another weapon with them. Rider Park Haben had taken out the machine gun enemy with her motorbike. She had struck the man with super speed of the bike. The man was sent flying towards the wall. She said, since he used gun, this should be considered as a self-defense. As she stopped, Park Haben couldn't stop trembling. She had hit a person with all her might. She was sweating heavily. Chin knew that feeling. The man with an arrow in his thigh was still breathing. He couldn't help but curse his fate. He had kidnapped women several times and was given life imprisonment. But, after being kidnapped by those mysterious people, he gained a chance to participate in this battleground. He was lucky enough to be united with the people from the same cell. He could have fooled all of them easily, but still he lost to only two guys. Haben and Chin were standing right in front of him. Haben asked Chin, what is he going to do? Chin replied, he just needs to ask some questions. He looked at the man and asked, earlier in the plane, did he saw a Korean politician? The man was taken aback by the sudden question. He didn't understand what politician they were looking for. Chin realized this man didn't know anything. He immediately aimed his crossbow over him. The man screamed and begged to at least spare his life. Suddenly, Haben came in between the man and the crossbow. She shouted for Chin to wait. Chin asked, what is she doing? And told her to move. Haben was not going to. She said, he doesn't look like he has the will to fight anymore. The man was literally trembling. She added, does he really have to kill him? The man was quiet, but internally he was glad. He couldn't believe this idiot woman. He thought, as soon as he gets a chance, he will. Just then, his thoughts came to a sudden halt. Chin had already shot the man in his head. The man died right then and there. Looking at Haben, Chin warned her as he said, I'm warning you ahead of time. Don't do anything stupid. If he became endangered because of her, he will kill her right away. Haben was lost for words. At the same time, the sun was setting down. Chin looked over and said, it's getting dark. He added, they will stay in the village for now. After few hours, the night had fallen. The moon was shining in the sky. Inside a house, Chin was asleep and taking his well-needed rest. Haben was awake. She came near Chin and started talking to herself. She said, you are sleeping so well. Then again, he's been running around like that all day. So, he must be tired. As expected, this mister is no different from the other death row inmates. She came near him. While grabbing the crossbow, she added, I'm sorry, mister. I lied about something to you. That time, I told you that I didn't know why I was dragged here. But, to be honest, I know at least why I came here. It's the same as others. In her memory, Haben was surrounded by corpses. She was holding a bloody knife. Yes, she was the one who killed them all. She was also the criminal who killed people. Right now, she was aiming the crossbow on sleeping Chin. But Chin was a trained NIS agent. He was awake. He was holding a pistol in one hand for all this time. Few years ago, Park Haben had a small loving family. Her parents loved her very much. They even willingly accepted her dangerous job as a writer. They were the best parents anyone could ask for. But good times never last long. Both her parents were killed right in front of her. Park Haben couldn't do anything. Those gangsters had her pinned down. They had came for payback. She had helped rescue a woman from their hands. At that moment, she thought she should have left that woman alone. She never imagined that righteous act would take away her family. She was sorry to her mother and father. She couldn't do anything. She was scared, crying, trembling. She only thought of one thing. Revenge. She wanted them to pay for this. If they go in prison, they will just be released after few years. That would be so unfair. And just like that, she became a murderer. Haben had killed all the gang members who took away her family. She killed all the 7 people with her own hands. And right now, she was holding the crossbow, aiming on Chin. Chin opened his eyes. This progression was everything that he expected. He thought he shouldn't team up with anyone after all. Within a second, Chin was already pinning down Haben. He was holding his gun on her, but Haben was shouting to let her go. Chin held her pistol on her head and said he had told her, if she endangered him, he'll kill her. He added she aimed her gun at him in just one night. He had expected this to happen, but he didn't know she would betray him this fast. Haben was suddenly surprised. She said she took the crossbow because he was sleeping while holding onto it. She thought he would be uncomfortable, so she put it aside. And as she had told him before, she doesn't even know how to shoot it. Chin glanced over only to see the crossbow kept aside. Haben pushed Chin to the side and said, are you satisfied now? Doubting me and wrongly killing a person. She added, in order to survive, she had no option but to go with him. But now she regretted it a bit. Chin was silent. Haben pointed at him and said, unlike you guys, I don't kill people easily. Chin didn't even faze one bit. Just like that, without letting go the tension between them, both of them stayed up all night. The next morning, Chin was looking at the loot he got from the village. He came to know one thing, searching the whole island is out of the question. He made a conclusion that, from now on, whenever he catches a Korean, he will ask if they saw Assemblyman Kim Namsu. He had searched all buildings and got water and food. With these items, they can survive for the time being. As he grabbed everything, he looked at Haben and said he had set a destination. If she's ready then. Before Chin could finish asking, Haben was already moving out. She started the bike. After a while, they were moving towards the bridge. Looking at the closing bridge, Chin told Haben to cross over the bridge. Chin had seen the island from the plane. He knew, looking from the plane, the island seemed to be divided into 2 parts, a large island and a small island. Currently, they were on the small island. They were moving onto the bridge. Haben asked, they just need to cross the bridge to get to the big island, right? Chin replied, that's right. He has been looking for all the paths they could take from the plane. Suddenly, Chin's sight fell over to the side of the bridge. He saw a dead person on the bridge. He came to a realization. He told her to watch out. Suddenly, a heavy round of bullets fell over them. But Chin had already jumped from the bike, taking Haben with him. The bike just rolled forward. Chin and Haben both took cover behind a broken car. They were safe for a moment. Haben asked, what was it? Chin looked over and said, there's an ambush right in front of them. They have been aiming at the people crossing the bridge. The location is approximately. Just when Chin was about to glance over, a bullet aimed at just missed up by a fraction. He was saved by the cover. Haben was worried, but Chin said the bullet just grazed him. There's nothing serious. The enemies were like marksmen. They shoot perfectly. He said their enemies are hiding well, so he doesn't know where they are at all. It's impossible to cross this bridge unscathed. This strategy was called bridge camping. He added, either they go back or fall into the river and swim. Haben took a deep breath and said she couldn't swim. Chin immediately said, then let's turn back. He continued, he will go in front and draw the enemy's attention. Then she should take the bike and drive away first during that time. He added, even if he gets shot, don't mind it and keep going. Haben was shocked by these sudden suicidal words. She was hesitant and said, that's too dangerous. Chin was firm on his choice. He calmly said, there's no other choice, because they'll aim at him while he draws their attention. He looked at Haben and added, and without a means of transportation, his mission will also become impossible. Once she gets out of this unharmed, he will just swim through the river. Suddenly, both of them felt illusionary pressure in their head. He could feel it in his bones. He couldn't know what was it. There was something inside his body, an electronic chip. When he looked at Haben, she was in daze. She was scared as she was looking up. He asked if she felt it too, that static electricity in the head. But Haben replied, it's not that. She pointed in front of them. Just when Chin looked over, he realized what she was talking about. The bluish light was spreading over all the place. It was closing in and taking bigger shape. It was the zone. The blue layer of unknown origin was getting closer and closer to them. They didn't know what it was. Suddenly, they saw a man running away from the coming blue light. He was shouting and running for his life, but he was not fast enough. He was caught in the zone. Blood was pouring from his eyes and ears. His head was hurting badly. Still, he knew he couldn't stop. But it was too late. Just when he was going past the zone, his head exploded. Haben and Chin were watching it live in front of them. They came to realize the threat that came with the blue zone. Chin immediately told Haben to jump off the bridge. They didn't have any choice. Haben was ready to accept it. She opposed, saying she couldn't swim. But Chin was serious with his statement. He looked at the approaching calamity, but he knew it was not any natural disaster. He was afraid of this unknown thing. He wasn't informed of any weapon like that. Moreover, the speed of it was increasing rapidly. Just when Haben was going to jump off, he stopped her. He knew if they swim, the zone will catch up to them quickly. He couldn't make a rash decision. He looked over to see his enemies, but they were well hidden. At the same time, the murderous magnetic field was approaching. He couldn't think of any solution. He was constantly brainstorming. Suddenly, they heard a huge explosion. It came from the back, where the enemies located. As they turned to look over, they saw a human figure walking within the burning furnace of explosion. The man was in tight white suit. Chin didn't know who this man was, but he couldn't figure how he got here. First he thought he was the one attacking them, but saw the sniper right behind him. At that moment, Haben called Chin and reminded him about the approach danger. Chin immediately told her to run. This was their chance. They started running. Haben saw the fallen motorbike, but Chin told her to drop the idea. The speed of the approaching danger was getting faster than they could take the bike. Suddenly, Haben gave out a heavy sigh. She shouted that there was someone in front of them. Chin told her to ignore him and run past him. As they came closer, Chin saw the human figure clearly. The man was in a white and tight straitjacket. His hands were tied up. Chin saw this as an opportunity. He took out his gun to shoot at the man. But suddenly a heavy kick made him lose his gun. The man was not weak by any means, even when he was in a tight spot. He launched another attack on Chin with his feet. Chin just barely managed to avoid it. Chin was super fast with his responses, but this man was not just fast but strong. The man struck again. This time, his attack landed on Chin, but Chin tackled it with his arms. As he stopped the attack, Chin gripped his fist and landed consecutive punches on the white suit man. With multiple powerful strikes, the man had no choice but to make a distance. Chin was ready to take out the crossbow, but he stopped. He thought it would be a waste of an arrow, because the blue zone was already making its way towards the white suit man. It was his end. Chin and Haben ran like their lives depended on it. Haben was sure that she will hear a scream or a popping sound. Nevertheless, she held her hands on her ears to block it beforehand. But she heard the man say she didn't need to block it. The man was still standing, because the zone had stopped. It had stopped right before reaching the white suit man. Chin was shocked as he didn't know why it happened. The man laughed and said, "You guys still don't know how it works. This game." Chin and Haben were taken aback. The man dashed forward towards them. Chin readily took out his weapon. As he shot the arrow, the man was too close and had dodged his death. With incredible speed, he launched his mighty kick on Chin. Chin blocked it with his crossbow. The man realized Chin was not used to using the crossbow. But suddenly, Chin had left the crossbow and was holding his foot. He took out his ultimate weapon, the frying pan. He caught him off guard. Just when he was about to hit him, the man spit something. It was a small knife. The speed was astonishing. Still, Chin managed to survive. But he lost his weapon. He didn't know what was happening. The white suit man had murderous knives in his mouth. Chin was surprised by the sudden knives. Haben was watching the duel of two fighters. She was waiting for a chance to help Chin. She just couldn't find a way to help him. In the meantime, Chin remembered something. A death row inmate with knives throwing out of his mouth. He remembered who this white suit man was. A doctor back in the real world, who liked to dissect the human body alive. His anatomy skills were amazing. Those were not enough, so he even dissected his own body. He remodeled his body to put weapons inside his organs, so that he could take them out anytime and anywhere. After that, he went around and killed dozens of people. The man who shocked the whole of Europe when he was caught during one of his murders. The man in white straitjacket was none other than pleasure killer Danny Jack Daniel. Chin had seen his criminal history, so he asked. He has seen his criminal records. It mentioned that he enjoyed killing women. Is he also aiming at them? Because of the girl. Listening to him, Danny laughed and couldn't hide his pleasure. He said the first sentence was correct, but he is not sure of the second one. Right at that moment, Danny dashed forward on Chin, knocking him over the bridge. Right then, they both were falling into the sea. Falling, Jack laughed and said, I am not that obvious of a guy. Chin fell into the water with a splash. When he came up, suddenly he was greeted by a grenade. He couldn't imagine how Danny was able to get the grenade and took out his pin. But he realized that Danny was holding the grenade right from the beginning. He was holding it between his arms. Danny was a crazy bastard. He was swimming away. He shouted, even if you dive, you're still gonna get hurt by the debris. It will be instant death for you. He gave an evil smile and said, farewell. The grenade was about to fall over Chin. But a pan gave a stunning strike to the falling grenade. The striker this time was Haben Park. She has yet again saved Chin with her bravery and a pan. The grenade gave a huge explosion over the other side. Chin was surprised, no shocked by her sudden appearance of the boat. Moreover, Haben even knew how to ride it. Haben replied, she likes riding, so she had tried riding this and that. When she got the boat bike, she wondered if she should abandon him and run away. But she remembered how he was ready to save her while risking his own life. She thought otherwise. Chin was already looking forward to their partnership. Meanwhile, Danny Jack Daniel was stunned by the sudden move. He was clearly impressed by Haben, as he said, she was so cool. His eyes were shining brightly, but not for long. Chin landed a critical hit with his pan on Danny. Danny was knocked out cold in the cold water. Looking at Danny, Haben asked, what should they do with him? Chin took out his pistol and pulled it over on Danny. He replied, isn't it obvious? Haben was not ready to take it. She turned and held her hands on her ear. Chin felt uneasy, but he again came to a realization. Danny knew many things about this game. After all, he also knew when the blue magnetic zone was going to stop. He couldn't imagine what more information could he be hiding about this murder game. So hopefully, he might get some clues from him. He boarded Danny onto the boat. Sensing the sudden change in balance, Haben looked over. Chin said, let's bring him with us first. He has few things to ask him when he wakes up. He added, let's return to land and find something to tie him up with inside an empty building. Haben was surprised to see he didn't immediately kill the person. Danny was a dangerous guy after all. Haben didn't get the change in personality of Chin. She thought it was because of her. She couldn't help but get her cheeks red. She was staring at Chin. Suddenly, Chin's loud voice made her awake. Chin told her to hurry up and drive. Haben hurriedly got to work. As they moved through the waters, Chin said if she could have told him that she could drive this boat, they could have drove this instead of getting on the bridge. All they did was waste time. Haben couldn't believe his words. She was furious as he was easily blaming her for wasting his time. She angrily said, will your mouth burst or something if you thank someone? But Chin was not listening to her. He was looking at the sky. He saw that the weather was changing. The sky was getting covered with dark blue clouds. In a while, it started raining heavily. In the nearby port village of Ferry Pier, inside a house, Chin splashed a bucket full of water on sleeping Danny. Danny was awake. As he opened his eyes, he saw Chin. He immediately asked, you didn't kill me. He smiled and added, good grief, you will definitely regret this. Chin was not interested in the greetings and said, tell me everything you know about this game. Depending on your answer, I may spare your life. Danny smiled and replied, I don't want to though. There's no reason for me. Just when he was about to finish his sentence, a bullet grazed his shoulder, leaving a bleeding scratch. Danny suddenly felt the pressure and threat of losing his life. Holding his fuming pistol straight on Danny's head, Chin gave a firm warning. If you need a reason, I'll give you one. He added, time is not on their side, so he should hurry up. Danny just laughed and asked, what does he want to know? Haben glanced over to listen. Chin asked, earlier he said they don't know how this game worked. It sounded like he knew how it worked. That blue magnetic field. What does he know about that? Danny was puzzled. He frowned and said, you really have no idea at all. He questioned, do all the inexperienced players feel no discomfort at all? He looked over and said, well then, I will explain the most important thing first. Just like my organs, your bodies have been remodeled. A sudden shock covered Haben and Chin's face. They didn't even have any clue about their own bodies. Chin and Haben had came to know of a major secret of this battleground. Let's stop here for this part. The link for the next part will be updated soon in the description. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Join the fun. If you are someone who loves reading manhwa and animes, subscribe now and join us in our journey. Also, get notified for new manhwa updates and hidden gems. Thank you for watching this video and see you again.